Thank you. For those of you who aren't familiar with NRDC, the Natural Resources Defense Council is an environmental NGO, 6 offices in the US and 1 in Beijing. We work on a wide variety of environmental issues. I'm on our food waste team. I've been at NRDC for 12 years working on a variety of waste topics, and I'm really excited to be working on food waste because it's one of the things that everybody can understand. Everybody interacts with food, hopefully on a daily basis, and everybody understands ways that they personally contribute to and have impact over how we use food and how we waste food. So in the US, NRDC put out a report in 2012 called Wasted, which highlighted the stat that 40% of the food in the US is wasted. And this really helped galvanize a conversation around the problems associated with food waste. This is especially poignant when between 1 in 7 and 1 in 8 Americans is food insecure, which means that at some point they don't know where their next meal is coming from. 95% of the food that's wasted ends up in landfills, where, as Bob noted, it creates methane, and the average family of 4 is losing not only food but money by buying food that they don't eat. So each individual throwing away 20 pounds of food, like most Americans, I'm metric impaired, but I think that's about 9 kilograms. So there's a big problem here that's happening at a lot of different levels. And a lot of the problem is at the consumer level, at least for what we're able to measure. So about 43% from what we can tell of food that's wasted is at the consumer level. A few important things are happening on the policy front right now in the US. At the federal level, there's a bill that's called the Food Recovery Act that is making its way through Congress, and that provides a variety of strategies and solutions across the supply chain to reduce food waste, to rescue edible food, to redirect to people in need, to recycle food scraps. And there's a companion bill for this House bill that's in the Senate right now. We don't know yet whether these bills will make it through or end up as parts of other types of legislation, but there's a national conversation that has really been spurred by setting last year of a national federal goal to reduce food waste 50% by the year 2030, which is in line with the UN goal and a number of other goals. This is a very ambitious goal for the US to set, and it's one that's going to require a multi-stakeholder approach. Another thing that's happened recently is that the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is an organization that helps mayors of cities of 30,000 or more come together and share best practices and helps coordinate communications between the city level and the federal level, has endorsed the national goal and also laid out a platform for a variety of stakeholders to help get involved in the issue of food waste. And all of these goals reference the EPA food recovery hierarchy, which sets source reduction as the primary strategy associated with food waste and makes its way down to landfill and incineration as the least preferred method for dealing with food waste. I like to shorten that to, where possible, reduce food waste, feed people, and then feed the soil, which I think is a really critical component of closing the loop and making this part of the circular conversation. One of the things NRDC is doing right now that we're really excited about is tackling that problem on the consumer level by creating an education campaign. And this was released in April of this year, a partnership that we have with the Ad Council, which is the nonprofit arm of the US advertising industry. So they are responsible for campaigns in the past like Smokey Bear and Friends Don't Let Friends Drive Drunk and so forth. And their campaign right now is called Save the Food. And of course, this plays on Save the Whales and other environmental messages, but really offers the idea that by saving the food, we can actually save environmental resources as well. One of the interesting things that happened when the Ad Council took on this project is that they did preliminary research to find out why people are wasting food. Most of their other issues, like preventing drunk driving, encouraging people to wear seatbelts, and so forth, are really about intervening where people already know that they shouldn't be doing something and encouraging them to have better behavior. But what they found when they started researching food waste at the consumer level is that consumers don't waste food out of any kind of negative motivation. All the motivations are very positive. They're about things like wanting to provide for your family, wanting to provide healthy choices, wanting to have abundance at a party that you throw for folks. So they're really positive motivations, but they need to be redirected into better behaviors. So this was the approach that we took when designing this campaign. So the main tagline that's used is best if used, which I think highlights the confusion around date labels. In the US, the only regulation on date labels federally is for infant formula. There's no official guidance on the wording, the meaning, and most Americans don't understand that these labels are primarily, almost entirely quality dates and not safety dates. They're not meant to indicate when the food is safe to eat. So best if used plays off that, a variety of messages. There are a number of these different assets that can be downloaded for free on savethefood.com. I would encourage you to go and check them out and see if there's ways that you could use them for your own organizational use. And some of them can be used on public assets like dumpsters and so forth, trash cans. And they highlight some of the stats around food waste, as well as just raising awareness. So advertising, we think, is a very powerful way to get out the message, and we hope that this is really impactful. We're working with a number of partners, cities and other organizations to try to implement these assets and really get the word out. And I'm just going to leave you with a quick teaser about another project we're working on. We don't think that you can really get a handle on the problem until you've done more measurement, and there's a big lack of data on what kinds of, not just how much food was being wasted, but what types of food are being wasted and why is that food being wasted. So we have a project right now to do a baseline food waste assessment in 3 pilot cities, Nashville, New York, and Denver. In those cities, we're measuring and assessing at the residential and commercial level not just what types of food are getting wasted, not just how much, but what types of food are getting wasted. And in the residential sector, we're comparing that with kitchen diaries where people track why they're throwing away something, and then matching that with surveys so that we can really understand the behaviors and attitudes that surround that. So we're really hoping that that inspires knowledge that will let us design better interventions around wasting food, because if we don't understand why people are wasting food, it's really hard to design those behavior interventions. I'll leave you there, and I hope you ask me more about that. Thank you.
Excellent.